Welcome everyone to another quick class from Seating Dynamics. Today we're going to be talking about dynamic seating maintenance. My name is Michelle Lang. I'm an occupational therapist in the Denver, Colorado area. Let's jump on in. Maintenance. It's something that we all have to endure in life, whether it's our house, whether it's our car, and that includes wheelchairs and dynamic seating components. Even dynamic seating components require maintenance, particularly the part of the component that absorbs and diffuses force, and that is an elastomer, a spring, or a hydraulic in most of these products. So particularly elastomers are prone to compression after a period of time and do need to be replaced in order for the dynamic component to work optimally. When do we do this? Well, we recommend that at least once a year someone get their eyes on that dynamic component to make sure it's adjusted properly, working properly, so that the client can get the full benefit of the product. If a component is worn, just that elastomer, for example, needs to be replaced, not the entire component. So check those out about once a year. Another indicator that the dynamic component may require maintenance is if it's just not performing quite up to snuff, or if you notice that the person's posture is changing. So for example, if an elastomer in a dynamic back has compressed, it might be that the dynamic back will open further than usual. It will kind of sag. That opens the seat to back angle, and that can impact someone's posture. In that case, make sure the elastomer does not need to be replaced. We also don't want the elastomer to compress so far that the dynamic component moves through its entire available travel. The purpose of that elastomer is to absorb forces, protecting the wheelchair frame from damage. If the elastomer is completely compressed and the dynamic component is moved through full travel, those forces are now translated to the wheelchair frame, and that can result in damage. We addressed this in more detail in our last quick class on durability. Here's an example. On the right, we have a nice new shiny elastomer. On the left, well, a pretty beat up elastomer. This gentleman was exerting tremendous forces through his dynamic back over about a year's period of time. The staff at his facility where he lived noticed that his posture wasn't quite as great as it usually was. They notified the occupational therapist, who went ahead and took a look at his dynamic back and sure enough discovered that the elastomers were really worn out. She was able by herself to replace these, and his posture was immediately improved. So what do we do if we feel that maintenance is required? Well, we replace the elastomer, or depending on the dynamic component, springs or hydraulics. Seating Dynamics offers a kit. It includes all the pieces that are required to change the elastomer. We don't have to change the entire component, just the worn pieces of it. There's also an instruction sheet that's included as well, and it's really not difficult to do. Usually the supplier is going to change the elastomer, but really anyone who's handy can typically get the job done, and it takes about 20 minutes. There is a cost for the replacement kit that is typically billed as a repair, so we don't have to wait for a long funding approval time period there. And the kit includes the elastomer, actually the full set of elastomers, so you can choose the appropriate level of resistance, an impact or rebound elastomer that helps the component return the client to his starting position, and a cap for the elastomer. What about those other components besides a dynamic back? Well, the springs and elastomers and the dynamic footrest may also need to be replaced, and these also should be checked about once a year. The dynamic head support hardware also includes elastomers, and these can be replaced as needed. There are kits for both of these seating dynamics components. So what's the bottom line? Well, just like a lot of things in our life, dynamic seating components need maintenance to ensure that they're functioning optimally. So check those components about once a year write it down on your calendar, maybe come up with some sort of follow-up system to make sure that somebody is remembering after a year to check on the dynamic components and how they are functioning. That will allow our clients to benefit as much as possible from this technology. If you have any questions, feel free to contact myself or Seeing Dynamics directly. Also, on the Seeing Dynamics website, you can get a copy of that instruction sheet on how to replace the elastomers. Thanks very much, everyone.